Right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem, Karkadash. Shalom to the elders for preaching the word, strictly and sincerely, in the names of Yahweh Ba'Shem, El Shai, Ba'Shem, Karkadash. Shalom to the elders for preaching the word, strictly and sincerely, like I mentioned again, in the names of Yahweh Ba'Shem, El Shai, Ba'Shem, Karkadash. Shalom to the Akim, scattered through four corners of the globe, preaching word, strictly and sincerely, in the names of Yahweh Ba'Shem, El Shai, Ba'Shem, Karkadash. I say shalom to the Akim out there. Out here another day on July the 4th, 2023. On this 12 o'clock noon, July the 4th, 2023. On the highways and byways, the chief place of concourse. So while you have our smell shop, giving us the opportunity chance to come out here to do so. And as we continue to measure the time diligently in itself, once again, and I'm going to bring out the second Esdras, 9 verse 1. And this is the book of second Esdras, chapter 9 verse 1, and it reads from the Holy Scriptures. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. And when thou seest parts of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, right, as we continue to measure the time diligently in itself, we're seeing these signs more and more now, so more than ever. And these are the signs that the Heavenly Father told us to look out for, being on our watch, and being a watchman unto the house of Israel. Doing sit-down lessons, in regards to the news articles of the major events, the global events, prophecies that we are going to witness and experience in the latter days, according to the Holy Scriptures and according to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh. And His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, for us to look out for these signs. And you can read that in Matthew, the 24th chapter, Luke, the 21st chapter, Mark 13 chapter as well, too. And these are signs that we are going to continue to see, witness, and experience in the latter days, because we are definitely increasingly are in those times, because these are the signs of the time. Just like it says in 2 Timothy 3 and 1, also in the latter days, perilous times should come, especially with the recent cases that have been taking place so far, down there in Texas, you had like three people were dead and like 3 injured. And then what happened over there in Philadelphia was like 4 people were dead and 4 injured, Hey, those are like Ecclesiasticus 39 and 28. Hey, those are spiritual ready for vengeance, Hey, Isaiah 45 and 7. I form the light, I create darkness, I create peace, I create evil. I, the Lord, does all these things, Hey, that shows you that a judgment's been increasing of this, the 4th of July, That's what we call it. It's not 4th of July, it's 4th of July, The independence and taking the land from the so-called native people, Because we are the 12 tribes of Israel, And the natives, they are part of the 12 tribes, Of the respectable 12 tribes of Israel. So that shows you that this is a 4th of July. Like the scripture says, he's a forgery of lies, He's a lying, deceitful nation, That shows you prime examples through the Holy Scripture, So that's why a lot of judgment been taking place so far. I would say as of last night, we've been seeing a lot of judgment taking place, especially what happened over there in Philadelphia. We seen what happened last year, over there in Highland Park, of that Edomite shot up that place. Now we're seeing new judgment a year later, What happened over there in Philadelphia, like I mentioned, 4 people were dead, 4 injured. I believe it was a 40-year-old Judite who did that, because the scripture says Judah should be a terror unto modern day Egypt, unto his own people and to all the other nations as well too. Hey, Judah should be a terror unto Israel. Like it says in Isaiah 51, I believe it's Isaiah 51 and 21, Israel is a wild bull in a net, and the fury of Yahweh is upon him, Hey, so we're going to see that increase. Hey, that goes into the Ecclesiasticus 39 and 28, which is the book of Sirach, 39 and 28. There's going to be a lot of spirits created for vengeance in the latter days, and that's what we've been seeing so far, I would say, within the last 12 hours or so, especially as of last night, That incident happened down there in Philadelphia. That incident happened down there in Texas. I believe they were celebrating before it was midnight. I believe there was a large gathering of the people down there in Texas. I forgot what region it was and what area it was, but I seen it on my news feed when I was on my phone. As soon as I was leaving out the house and getting on the bus and stuff like that, they said another incident that took place down there in Texas. It probably been in the Judite community, or Judite or Northern Kingdom community, because Israel is a wild bull in their neck, they running out here wild, The fury of Yahweh is upon them, So that's why, and that kind of relates to what's the judgment's been taking place before the 4th of July, Won't be surprised if more judgment take place in the 4th of July, because Esau is the forgery of lies, just like Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. Hey, the people in this society is mourning, That's why it's a lot of judgment taking place, because the wickedness bear rule right now. But the society is upside down. It's evil and backwards of what it promotes, because the wickedness bear rule. But when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But once the righteous get back in full authority to manage this earth in righteousness, everything is going to be right side up rather than upside down, because this whole world and society is backwards, because it's the wicked bear rule right now. Well, you're seeing what's going on in the world today. You see what's going on in our society of what the evilness and wickedness that's being promoted on this earth, in this society and this whole world, and it's showing examples of it, That shows you that, when the righteous get back authority, we're going to know for sure how to run a planet earth in a righteous way. Not how, like Esau, Edom wanted this kingdom, It's like the scripture says, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. He comes to the faces of the judge there. First Maccabees 3:48, he paints the likeness of his image, So that shows you that the wicked is very rule right now, Second Ezra 6:9, for Esau at the end of the world, they're beginning that fall. That's why it's going to be righteous management on the rule the whole planet earth in righteousness. That shows you a clear example on how to not rule a planet earth or a whole earth, So we got to follow the ways of Yahweh Shemel Shah, So, the end of manifesting of Esau's kingdom is coming, right in front of our eyes. We're going to continue to see that, just like I referenced that scripture of 2nd Ezra 6:9. For Esau, the end of the world, they begin at that fall. So the son's objective is going to be next to rule the planet earth in righteousness, like how it's supposed to. Not have it unbalanced and unstable, evil that's spreading, continued evilness and wickedness, promoting all that, That's why righteousness is going to be established on the planet earth. And we're definitely getting closer and closer to that time. Make sure everything's good. Salakia for that. But I'm going to read again. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 9, verse 1. He answered me, then it said, measure out the time diligently in itself, when thou seest the parts of the signs past, which I have told thee before. Right, so we're going to continue to increasingly now, so more than ever, measure the time diligently in itself. Because we are in those times of us being on our watch, measuring the times of what times that we are living in, concerning the times, So this, these are the signs that the Heavenly Father told us to look out for as being the sons of the Most High, as being His servants, His ambassadors, representation, His servants, prophets in the latter days. Just like Jeremiah 28:8, our great forefathers back then prophesied against great countries and great kingdoms of war, evil, and pestilence. Now we're back on the scene today in modern day times prophesying about wars, evils, and pestilence. And we definitely seeing the evils been increasing at a large amount of level, especially in modern day times. Iniquities is through the roof in the latter days, especially over here in Babylon and around the world as well too. Just like it says in 2nd Ezra 15:5, Yahweh Shemel Shah is going to send that sword, famine, death, and destruction, and these plagues that He's going to send upon the whole world in the latter days as well too. So the evils and the pestilence is definitely going to increase over here in the first part of Babylon. Once we see the evils and iniquities and judgments been increasing over here in Babylon, been ramping up, it's going to increase and intensify, and it's going to manifest now so more than ever, because we are in those times. And these are the times and seasons that we are prophesying about, soon increasing wars, evils, and pestilence. I'm going to continue on. I'm going to read it again for edification's sake. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 9, verse 1 of the Apocryphal books, and it reads, He answered me then and said, measure about the time diligently in itself, when thou seest the signs pass, which I have told thee before. Right, so we're going to continue to discern the times, measure the times for these, watching out for these major events, global events, biblical signs that's going to increase, these prophecies that's about to be fulfilled, because we are in those times, So we're definitely clear, we definitely see it clearly right now, And I'm going to go to the next verse, and this is 2nd Ezra, chapter 9, verse, I'm going to start at verse 2, Salakia. 2nd Ezra, chapter 9, verse 2, and it reads from the Holy Scriptures. Then thou shalt understand it is a very same time when the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Right, so the Heavenly Father is definitely visiting this earth, definitely with these earthquakes. I believe over there in Tonga, it was like a magnitude of a 6.9 earthquake. And then over there, the outskirts of Alaska, they had like a 4.1 to 4.2 or 4.3 magnitude of an earthquake, So that's why we've been seeing an increase of these high magnitudes of earthquakes in diverse places. So we're going to continue to see the earthquakes. We're going to continue to see the tornadoes, the landslides, the floodings. I meant to say the droughts. These heat waves that we've been seeing in different parts of the United States, the western part of the United States, Texas, and different parts around the United States. These heat waves that have been taking place over there in India, these heat waves have been taking other aspects around the world, Hey, these are the signs from the Heavenly Father. And the Heavenly Father is going to continue to visit this earth with these weather-like conditions and many different categories of conditions as well, too, Because we are in those times, And this is 2nd Ezra, chapter 9, verse 3. It says, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and upworlds in the people of the world. Hey, that's what we're seeing right now with the Israel-Palestine situation. I believe it was an article that I read yesterday. It was saying, from the Jerusalem Post, because they keep you live updates with the over there in Jenin of the West Bank area over there, because you got the Israeli Defense Force, even though they've been doing this quite some time, with the raids over there. And I believe the death toll can keep on going up and up and up. Last time I checked, it was like 12 people was killed, 27 were injured. So that shows you that, hey, those are seditions and uprises and upwards in the people of the world, with the Israel-Palestine situation. They were saying that that operation over there, which is run by the Israeli Defense Force over there in Jenin, in the West Bank area, the Palestinian territory, and you got the Israeli territory trying to take over that whole area over there throughout the West Bank. And I believe it was another story that came out as well too. I would say not too long ago, over there in Tel Aviv, because this has been happening previously as well too. I've been doing lessons on the well Israel too previously, especially in the year 2023. I believe this is like the 3rd and 4th time so far in this year of 2023. You had I believe he was a Palestinian, and he ran his car into pedestrians or citizens over there in Tel Aviv. I believe he ran his car, and then he did random stabbings on those Israelis over there, or citizens over there in Tel Aviv, I believe it was like 9 people were injured or something like that. So I don't know if they neutralized the suspect or whatever after he ran his car, crashed his car into pedestrians, So that shows you prime examples of seditions and uprises and upwards in the people of the world, So that Israel-Palestine situation is going to continue to increase, Because those two nations fight for a land that don't belong to them, Because the time of the Gentiles is almost going to be fulfilled very soon, The Gentiles of the other nations. Because you got Israelites that's in the Gentile state of mind. They still don't know who they are, Because you got two different types of Gentiles. But it could be the Gentiles of the Israelites that's in that Gentile state of mind. And then you have the Gentiles of the other nations, So, hey, the time of the Gentiles is going to be fulfilled very soon. Because they have defiled the Lord's land, So those Palestinians or those Israelis, they basically fighting over a whole land that don't belong to them. Because those Palestinians, which is the Philistines, that's what the original name until they changed it, So those two nations over there, they really fight for a land that don't belong to them. Those small hats over there, those Israeli Edomites, and those Ishmaelites, they basically fighting over a land that don't belong to them. All three of those nations. No, that land don't belong to them over there. That land belongs to us. But the Heavenly Father is going to cleanse that land, and He's going to continue to let the nations duke it out over there. That shows you. Well, that's just a sad note. But those are prime examples that I just mentioned. What's been taking place over there with the Israel-Palestine situation. So those that what you call seditions and uprisings and uproars in the people of the world, especially what's happening over there in France, with the yellow vests previously. You've been having the protesters of that 17-year-old Ishmaelite got blown away by one of those local authorities over there. Hey, they got those protests intensified. I believe one of the mayors of France, I believe they set his car on fire or something like that when they intensified those protests. So that shows you prime examples of seditions and uprisings and uproars in the people of the world. Hey, it's going to continue to increase the seditions and uprisings and uproars in the people of the world. And we're going to continue to see the high increasing magnitudes of these earthquakes in diverse places, because these are the signs of the times that we are in, So that shows you that, like Matthew 24 verse 8, the beginning of sorrow. Hey, we are in those beginning stages of sorrows right now, and it's going to intensify and it's going to increase due to these many activities that's going to increase and heat up and intensify and manifest now some more than ever. And this is 2nd Ezra chapter 9 verse 4, and it reads through the Holy Scripture. It says, then thou shalt well understand the Most High spake of these things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. Right, from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. So the Heavenly Father is going to continue to show these signs that He spoke about from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. So these signs that we're looking out for is going to increase these major events, global events, prophecies that's about to be fulfilled, and more increasing biblical signs that we are going to witness and experience in the latter days, because we are in those signs of the time, and we definitely see it increasingly clearly. We see it clearly now more than ever. It's like that song, I can see clearly now the rain is gone. Hey, we can see it clearly now, We see these signs, and Wadi Al-Bashim al-Shah for waking us up to see these signs, and let us have the opportunity to prophesy about these signs, to be able to know these signs increasingly, and be able to understand these scriptures. Like the scripture says, the Heavenly Father will do nothing to reveal His secrets to His servants, the prophets, in the latter days. And Wadi Al-Bashim al-Shah for letting us to be able to witness this and experience this, Because I know our ancestors, they would love to experience this as well too, And Wadi Al-Bashim al-Shah for passing those generations down for us to have an opportunity and a chance, meekness, humbleness, and sincerity, to be able to prophesy and to be able to building us up with this knowledge and wisdom and understanding, and to be able to learn these signs, biblical signs and prophecy that's got to be fulfilled. And the Wadi Al-Bashim al-Shah for putting the Spirit on us to wake us up in the latter days, as we're going to continue to wake up our people and telling them what's going on and telling them come back into the righteous ways of the Al-Bashim al-Shah. And we thank the Al-Bashim al-Shah for that. As we continue to do the will of the work of the service of the ministries and the labors of the Mashiach Al-Shah as being His servants, as being His mouthpiece, as being His representation, of the Al-Bashim al-Shah in the latter days, and the Wadi Al-Bashim al-Shah for waking us up to that, and may all of us continuously push to be in His truth, as us being the men of the Lord, representations of the Al-Bashim al-Shah in a meek and humble, sincere way, the Wadi Al-Bashim al-Shah for that. May Al-Bashim al-Shah continue to put the Spirit on all of us men that's out here on the highways, that's preaching the word, or wherever we've been scattered at through the four corners of the globe, to continue to put the Spirit on us to continue to endure, May Al-Bashim al-Shah put that Spirit on us to continue to endure now some more than ever, But that's just a sad note I just want, but I'm going to continue on. And I'm going to read it again. I'm going to start at verse 3 again. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 9 verse 3. It says, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars in the people of the world. Right, that's what we're seeing. Earthquakes and uproars in the people of the world. So So with that Israel-Palestine situation, that's going to continue to increase. That's going to continue to manifest. That's going to continue to spark up. Definitely, we've been seeing the increasing of the Israel-Palestine situation. Of those escalations been stirring up so far at an alarming rate so far in the year 2023. Hey, we're seeing what's going on over there in France. Hey, we're seeing what's going on down there in Sudan. We're seeing what's been taking place over there in Uganda. We're seeing what's taking place in different parts around the world. We've been seeing what's taking place over there. What's that? The Russia-Ukraine situation and the Russia versus NATO and the Western countries and the allies of Ukraine and the United States versus Russia and Belarus. And we've been seeing some tension stirring up over there. We've been seeing activities been taking place over the South China Sea, right along the Taiwan Strait. And I believe it was an article that just came out saying that the Taiwanese soldiers are they getting prepped up and getting prepared for a potential showdown of a potential war between China invading Taiwan very soon. And we're getting closer and closer to that. We're definitely seeing increasing signs of it, So that's going to cause a lot of seditions, a lot of uprises, a lot of uproars, a lot of tensions of nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom, increasing of wars and rumors of wars, And the United States, they're going to have to intervene in that, They're going to have to get involved in that. That's another sign of a potential war that's about to break out very soon, That's why we're seeing the building up of these wars and rumors of wars, down to more than ever. And this is 2nd Ezra chapter 9 verse 4. Then thou shalt understand that the Most High spake of these things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. 2nd Ezra 9 and 5. For like all that is made in the world and had a beginning and an end is manifest. Right. So the beginning of the end and the end is being manifested. We're definitely seeing it. We definitely increasingly clearly seeing it of the times that we are in, That's why we are measuring the times, discerning the times and what times that we are living in, And we're going to continue to do so. Continue to be on our watch, sound the alarm, blowing the trumpet in Zion, and let all the habitations of the land tremble, because the day of Hamashiach Yahushua return is not at hand. That's why his return getting closer slowly but surely. So we're definitely going to continue to see these increasing signs before Yahushua makes his return, and these prophecies that's going to be fulfilled. So it's going to be big, increasing major events going to have to happen, especially in the battle of Armageddon, the battle of Jehoshaphat. Once that pops off, and that's when Yahushua is going to get close to his return. That's when he's going to sit, judge all the nations round about. Once the valley of Jehoshaphat, when the valley of decision, when Yahweh judgment, Yahweh Shabbat, Yahweh's judgment over there in the Middle East. That's why we seeing it stirring up over there in the Middle East, that conflict between those Israel-Palestine situation, Iran versus Israel, Russia versus the United States, Iran versus the United States, China versus the United States, China versus Taiwan, North Korea versus South Korea, Japan, and the United States. The Armageddon of escalations and wars over there in the Middle East, over there in Iraq, over there in Syria, over there Israel, Lebanon, Jordan. All that's going to continue to build up and increase, because these are the signs of the times that we are in. And it's going to continue to build up and increase now, so more than ever. I'm going to bring out that Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter. And this is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1. To everything there is a season, and a time of every purpose under the heaven. Ecclesiastes 3 and 2. And a time to be born, and a time to be eat, and a time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted. Ecclesiastes 3 and 3, and it reads from the Holy Scripture. And a time to Kill. Right, just like in those times, we're seeing that right now as well. We're in that time of evils are increasing, seditions, uprises, uproars, spiritual repentance, just like in those times. Now we see that you can relate that into modern day time. A time to Kill and a time to heal, because everything is a balance. During those times and modern day times, you relate that to modern day times as well too. And the time to Kill H-A-I-L-L, and a time to heal, and a time to break down, and a time to build up, right? Mountains. Verse 4, you can see that in modern day times. Ecclesiastes 3 and 4, and it reads for the Holy Scriptures. And it says, Ecclesiastes 3 and 4, and a time to weep, and a time to laugh, and a time to mourn, and a time to dance. Ecclesiastes 3 and 5, and a time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together, and a time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. Ecclesiastes 3 and 6, and a time to get, and a time to lose, and a time to keep away, and a time to keep, Salah, and a time to cast away. Verse 7, Ecclesiastes 3 and 7, and a time to reign, right, and a time to reign, and a time to keep silent, and a time to speak. Right, so the mouthpieces of Yahweh Shemel Shah, we are in that time of speaking of prophecies, of wars, evils, and the pestilence. Just like Yahweh Shemel Shah spoke in those times when the prophets was on the scene in Jeremiah 28 and 8. Now we're seeing that in modern day times, the prophets of in modern day times, you know, out here on the highways and byways, or wherever we've been scattered at through the four winds of the globe, prophesying about war, evil, and the pestilence, because we are in that time of seasons. Just like during those times, now in modern day times, you definitely can relate that to modern day times as well too. So we are in that time of seasons right now in modern day times of prophesying about wars, evils, and the pestilence. And we're going to continue to see that grow now so more than ever, you know, by the words of Yahweh Shemel Shah, you know, which is the Heavenly Father. Yahweh is his true name, his unbegotten Son's name, which is Yahweh. In the ancient Paleo Hebrew, those are their true names. So the prophecies are speaking through the words of Yahweh Shemel Shah and through his prophets in the latter days. Just like during those times, now in modern day times, you see that, you know. So we are in those times and seasons in modern day times, prophesying about wars, evils, and the pestilence, you know. And I'm going to read it again, Ecclesiastes 3 and 8, and a time to love, and a time to H-A-T-E, and a time of war, and a time of peace, right? So we are definitely in the increasings of the time of war. That's why wars has been increasing, been building up throughout the years and generations. And it's going to continue to increase and intensify as we get closer and closer to the Valley of Jehoshaphat, Armageddon. You know, when all these nations are going to collide all together in the Middle East. And that's when the Heavenly Father, Yahweh of Israel, is going to sit and judge all the nations around about. That's why you're going to have a continual on continuous of wars and commotions. You can read that in the book of Luke 21 and verse 9. A lot of continual increasing of wars and commotions throughout that whole area in the Middle East. A continual cross-border conflict between these different nations and different kingdoms and different organizations, which they are backed by allies of these other nations, you know. Now I'm going to bring that Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, in verse 1. And this is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, and verse 1. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, it says, Son of man, set thy face against Gog and the land of Magog. You know, Gog and the land of Magog, which is the modern day Russians, in that land as well too. And Yahweh Shemel Shah prophesying against them. And he's putting that warlike spirit into these Russians in the latter days as well too. That's why you've been seeing a lot of activities over there in the Yellow Sea, the Black Sea, the Mediterranean Sea, over there in the borders over there where they got NATO and its allies of Ukraine and the United States and the Western countries. In the upper part region, you got the Russian and its army and its borders over there, you know. So, hey, those shows of signs of these escalations are going to continue to stir up between the Israel-Ukraine situation and Russia versus NATO and the armies of their allies as well too, of Ukraine and the United States and the Western countries, you know. Let me go to the next verse. This is Ezekiel chapter 38 and verse 3, and it reads, it says, And thus saith the Lord, Yahweh thy power, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. Ezekiel 38 and 4, and it reads from the Holy Scripture, And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thy army, horse and horsemen, all of them clothed for all sorts of armor, in a great company of bucklers and shields, all of them manly swords. Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 5, it says Persia, which is the modern day Iranians, Ethiopia, which is the Cushites of their armies, it says with all of them with shield and helmet, right? With all of them with shield and helmet. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya, you know. They're getting gearing up, battering up the war, you know. And this is what we're living in modern day times. This is Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 6. And it reads through the Holy Scriptures. It says Gomer, because Gomer is the modern day Turkey army. It says, and all his bands, the house of Togomor of the north quarters, and all his bands and many people with thee. Ezekiel 38 and 7. Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself and all thy companies that are assembled unto thee, be thou a guard unto them. Right? So Russia is going to be a guard unto these nations. Like I mentioned, Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, you know, because Persia is the modern day Iranians. Gomer is the modern day Turks. Ethiopia, which is the Cushites, you know. Libya, which is the modern day Ishmaelites of the Arabs, of their armies. You know, the Arab armies of their armies, you know, building up their armor with shield and helmet in the latter days, you know. And so Russia is definitely going to be a guard onto those nations, especially Iran and Turkey, because we've seen a lot of increasing activities over there in Syria. So that's a battlefield, you know. So that's a battlefield over there, you know. Just like that song Jordan Sparks said, it's a battlefield. Hey, it is a battlefield over there, you know. And it's going to continue to increase over there, you know, now some more than ever. So, hey, you have the Russian army, you know, you have the Russian army over there. You have the Turkish army over there, the Kurdistan army over there, the United States army over there, pro-Iranian groups, Hezbollah over there, you know. So that's why it's going to be a continual increasing of escalations, proxy wars and commotions over there in Syria, you know, now so more than ever. And especially different parts of over there throughout Middle East. So Russia is definitely going to be a guard unto those nations. So Iran, Turkey, you know, Libya, and Ethiopia of the Cushites as well too, you know. And I'm gonna bring out that Matthew's, and this is Matthew 24 verse 6, and it says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Right, so we're going to see the increasing of these wars and rumors of wars between these different nations and different kingdoms now, so more than ever, continually increasing. You know, it's going to build up and it's going to heat up very soon. These wars and rumors of wars is going to be an all-out war between these different nations. And that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing amount increasing of previews of that. But once it be an all-out war, and we get closer and closer to the Valley of Jehoshaphat, that's when Yahweh's going to sit and judge all the nations round about. So we definitely seeing increasing signs of that, especially within the year 2023. We definitely been seeing that stirring up. We definitely been seeing the wars and rumors of wars heating up between the different nations and different kingdoms. So what's going on over there in the South China Sea, right along the Taiwan Strait of China versus Taiwan, because you still got that one China policy, you know, because because China still look at Taiwan as one of them, you know. They're gonna, they said they're gonna take it by force if necessary, and we're definitely getting closer and closer to that. And that's gonna be a potential war that's gonna increase, and it's gonna happen very soon. So we're definitely seeing increasing signs of that. We've definitely been seeing that within the last 2 or 3 years. In previous years, now in recent years, now in modern day times, of the China versus Taiwan, China invading Taiwan, and the United States is gonna have to get involved in that. And I believe the United States sent like 2 different military aid assistance packages to Taiwan. I believe as of last year, they sent like 300 million. No, the recent one was like 300 million of military aid assistance. And then they sent that Patriot missile system over there. And I believe it was another military missile defense system as of recently as well too, if they already not had signed off on it already. And they had recently deployed it about a couple of months ago. They had recently deployed it like 100 plus soldiers over there in that area to train the Taiwanese soldier, so they can get prepped for what's about to come of a potential invasion from China invading Taiwan. You know, so the United States Army, they're gonna have to get involved in that. You know, and that's gonna lead into an all-out war over there in Taiwan. You know, so hey, shows you what times that we were living in. So those are prime examples of wars and rumors of wars building up, especially with the Russia-Ukraine situation. Even though Russia looked at that as a special military operation, but hey, that's going to continue to heat up. I believe there was another incident that happened over there in Ukraine, the Kharkiv, throughout that region. I believe it was another airstrike from Russia. It was like 2 people were killed, like 26 were injured, if I'm not mistaken, because I just seen it on my phone. Yeah, because I had seen it on my phone. It was like a latest incident. Even though we've been used to seeing that, it's been increasing. But that shows you that, hey, that Russia-Ukraine situation is going to intensify. It's going to manifest. It's going to heat up. That leads into the wars and rumors of wars, you know. So what's going on over there? The Korean Peninsula, right along the eastern shores of Japan. Hey, that's going to continue to intensify as well too. Of China. Not China, Slovakia. Of North Korea. Look at South Korea and the United States as a threat, because they, not too long ago, that military exercise drill has been taking place over there in the Korean Peninsula. And North Korea look at that as a potential of an invasion, of a start of a nuclear war, you know. And not too long ago, I say about 2.5 weeks ago, you know, the South Koreans, they was inside of some type of building. You know, it was a lot of Koreans, you know, they was shouting of sending nuclear strikes over here, you know, to over here in Babylon. That shows you what times that we are living in, you know. That leads up into the wars and rumors of wars. Hey, those Ammonites over there in North Korea, you know, they was shouting like, use nuclear strikes over here, you know. So that shows you that, hey, that North, I meant to say not South Koreans. I meant to say, I want to rephrase that the North Koreans, you know, they had that little 73rd anniversary of the Korean War. You know, you had those North Koreans shouting use nuclear strikes over here in Babylon. You know, so that shows you, hey, that North Korea versus South Korea, Japan, and United States, and that's going to continue to increase. That's going to continue to stir up. That's going to stir up the minds of these nations, you know. Just like it says in Joel 3:9. Hey, Yahweh Shemel Shai is stirring up the mindset of these nations, waking up the mighty men of these nations, of their armies, you know. And that's what the Lord is doing. He's stirring up the armies of these nations. Even though he might calm it down a little bit, but he's going to stir it right back up. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing it take full effect, you know. It says, this is Matthew chapter 24, verse 7, and it reads from the Holy Scriptures. It says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Right, that's what we've seen. But that North Korea, South Korea, Japan, and, right, North Korea versus the United States, Japan, and South Korea. You had those North Koreans shouting, use nuclear strikes over here in Babylon, you know. And there are other adversaries that's with the Western cultures, that's with Babylon, you know. So they're shouting slogans, especially over here in Babylon, you know. They're shouting, use strikes over here in Babylon. The North Koreans, the Ammonites, you know. So that shows you, hey, rumors of wars are heating up between the different nations and different kingdoms. And these are the times that we are in. That's why the men of the Lord out here prophesying about the wars, evils, and the pestilence is going to increase. And it's going to spark up, and it's going to intensify. It's going to manifest throughout the whole world now, so more than ever, you know. All right, I'm going to read again, Matthew 24, verse 7, and it reads through the Holy Scriptures. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Right, earthquakes in diverse places. The famines, pestilence, and plagues that we are going to witness and experience in a lot of days. Just like it says in 2 Ezra 15:5, of Yahweh Shemel Shai is going to send that sword, famine, death, and destruction in a lot of days. We're going to see that over here in Babylon, and a witness for the whole world to experience as well too, you know. Just like Amos 8:11 of Yahweh Shemel Shai is going to send that great famine. Even though we are so used to seeing these famines in these third world countries, but in these already established countries, cities and towns, they're going to get hit with famines, the pestilence, the plagues that the Heavenly Father is going to send on this earth, you know. So it's definitely going to be heavy over here in Babylon, you know. The pestilence, the plagues, the evils, the seditions, the iniquities, heavy judgment. Hey, this is what Babylon is about to witness on the increasing upper scale, you know. And I'm going to go to the next verse, Matthew 24, verse 8. All these are the beginning of sorrows, right? Because we are already in the stages of beginning of sorrows. We're seeing that taking full effect right now. So the beginning of sorrows that we're seeing right now is going to increase. It's going to intensify. It's going to manifest. It's going to show forth. Because we are in those times. These are the increasing of the signs of the times that we are in, you know. Now I'm going to bring out that Joel 3:9. So yeah, Yahweh Shemel Shai is stirring up the minds of these nations to be in that warlike mindset. That's why we're seeing a lot of increasing wars taking place in the world today, especially throughout the whole Middle East over there, especially with the Russia-Ukraine situation, especially what's taking place down there in the Indo-Pacific region, you know. And this is the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 9. It says, proclaim ye this amongst the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near and let them come up. Right, that's what we're seeing taking place in the world today. All these wars and rumors of wars heating up, you know. And Yahweh Shemel Shai is putting that warlike mindset, is waking up the minds of these other Gentiles of their armies, you know. And Yahweh Shemel Shai is going to continue to increasingly waking up the mighty men of these nations. That's why we've been seeing military exercise spending at an all-time high. That's why we've been seeing military spending at an all-time high. That's why we've been seeing nuclear escalations and tensions between these nations at an all-time high so far this year in the year 2023. We're going to continue to see that increase and ramp up now some more than ever. It's going to be manifesting now some more than ever because we are in those times of the increasing of these wars, evils, and the pestilence. So the wars are definitely going to increase and it's going to continue to heat up. So the wars and rumors of wars is going to actually heat up and build up, manifest. It's going to show forth throughout the whole planet Earth, right along with the all-out actual war that's going to happen between these different nations and different kingdoms that we are witnessing and experiencing. It is beefing up and heating up. Those war drums beating, you know, between these nations against one another. And this is, I'm going to go to the next verse. And this is the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 10. Beat your plowshares into swords and plenty hooks into spears, and let the weak say I am strong. Right, and let the weak say I am strong, which is these nations that you usually don't see has a upgradable nuclear capability. Now we're seeing that in modern day times. Hey, we seen India just recently purchase a super hypersonic missile and other military upgraded capabilities for the past recent years, you know, previous years and recent years. Iran is upgrading their nuclear capability. North Korea is upgrading their nuclear capability. And these other nations as well too. India, Pakistan, Libya, Ethiopia, Somalia, all these armies of these nations, you know, they're upgrading their nuclear capability. That's why it says beat your swords and the pony hooks into spears and let the weak say I'm strong. That's why we're seeing the nations been building up their nuclear capability. They've been putting all their finances in their military spending. That's why military spending has been that's why military spending being at an all-time high. And it's going to continue to increase and be like that now some more than ever. Because we are in those times of Yahweh Shemel Shai is waking up the mighty men of these nations. And Yahweh Shemel Shai putting the spirit on these nations said, let the weak say I'm strong. And that's what we are seeing, you know. It says Joel 3 and 11. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, which is other nations of their armies, and gather yourselves together round about thither, cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. And this is the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 12. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. Right, that's what the Heavenly Father is doing. Let the heathen be wakened. You know, hey, Yahweh Shemel Shai is waking up these armies of these other nations to be in that warlike mindset, you know. And I'm going to read again, Joel 3 and 12. It says, let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, right? And that's when Yahweh is going to judge all the heathens round about. It says, Joel 3 and 12, let the heathen awaken and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there I will sit judge all the heathen round about. Right, that's what Heavenly Father is going to judge all the heathen round about. Once they get closer and closer, all the nations are going to get closer and closer to the valley of Jehoshaphat down there in the Middle East, in the Yahweh's decision, Yahweh Shabbat, that's when he's going to sit and judge all the nations round about, So that's why we're getting closer and closer to that continual increasing of wars and rumors of wars, nation against nation, at an all-time high. Military exercise spending, military training, upgrading nuclear capability of these nations. The hostilities and tensions is growing, increasing, and building up. It manifests war drums beating in the air. It's heating up as the nation's getting closer and closer to the valley of Jehoshaphat. That's why we're going to continue to see non-stop judgment and escalations and tensions that these nations have towards one another over there in the valley of Jehoshaphat. Definitely all throughout the Middle East. So ain't that a coincidence? For the past couple of months, I would say like a month and a half ago, I did a walk and talk lesson on it about you having Iran previously, not Iran, Palestinian and Hezbollah and Hamas been doing military exercise drills, preparing for war with Israel, which is the Israel Defense Force. And you had on the other side, the Israel Defense Force been doing military exercise drills because they're going to very soon get prepared for a war between those nations. But these other nations and organization factors are clicking up together as a military alliance. Because you got Iran, the pro-Iranian groups, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Syrian army, they all clicking up together to go against Israel. That's why you're seeing Iran versus Israel on those escalations now so more than ever, That leads into the wars and rumors of wars. As we're getting closer and closer to the valley of Jehoshaphat, those are indicators of signs right there. We're getting closer and closer to that. Even though it might calm down and cool down, but it's going to heat up and it's going to ramp up now so more than ever, because we are in those times of the increasing of these wars, evils, and the pestilence, So the wars are just going to continue to increase. And Yahweh Shemel Shai is going to definitely, for certain, increasing of these nations, put that mindset of these nations to be in that warlike mindset. And that's what times that we are in, So we're definitely in that warlike mindset of these nations going to continue to building up, have intensifying, increasing in seditions and uprises, they have towards one another. Chapter 21, verse 9. Make sure everything good. And this is the book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 9, and it reads through the Holy Scriptures. It says, but when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass. But the end is not by and by. Right, so it's not going to end just yet. It's going to continue to increase. It's going to continue to build up. Now, so more than ever, the escalations that we are seeing in the world today, especially over there in the Middle East, like I mentioned previously. Over there in the Middle East is going to continue to increase of wars and proxy wars, endless wars is going to continue to increase and building up now some more than ever. Because we are in those times of increasing and building up of these wars and commotions between these different nations and different kingdoms. So Iran versus Israel, the Israel-Palestine situation, all this is going to continue to increase over there in the Middle East. Now, so more than ever, all the cross-border conflicts is going to increase over there in Jordan, over there in Lebanon, over there in Syria, over there in Iraq, over there in Israel, throughout Syria, Damascus of Syria, Aleppo of Syria, the southwestern part of the southwestern part of Syria, the southeastern part of Syria, the eastern part of Syria. All those are going to be continual wars and commotions, and the escalations are just going to continue to intensify, heat up throughout that whole Middle Eastern region. Now, as I've been mentioning previously, now we are so used and accustomed of seeing escalation has been up and down over there in the Middle East, but it's going to intensify, it's going to heat up now some more than ever. And that's what we've been seeing as a prime example over there with the Israel-Palestine situation. We got it throughout the West Bank, throughout the Gaza Strip, southern Israel, Tel Aviv, you know. That shows you that, hey, those tensions of wars and commotions between the Israelis and the Palestinians is not going to slow down anytime soon. Even though we've been seeing this previously in previous years, you know, but we're going to, especially like in 2014 and in previous recent years, now in modern day times, we've definitely been seeing that, definitely for sure, you know. But hey, how the way it is sparking up right now, hey, it's at an alarming rate like never before. So that Israel-Palestine situation is definitely going to continue to increase. It's definitely going to continue to build up and heat up now some more than ever. You know, it's going to cause a lot of seditions, a lot of uprisings, a lot of judgments, and a lot of iniquities over there in that region. So those wars and commotions is definitely going to continue to build up and increase now some more than ever. You know? And I'm going to read it again for edification's sake for this lesson. This is the book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 9, and it reads through the Holy Scriptures. It says, "But when ye should hear of wars and commotion, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by anybody." Right, so the men of the Lord, we're not going to be terrified of these signs, or not be troubled by these, because these are going to come to pass, even though it's going to end, not end by anybody. It's going to continue to build up, it's going to continue to increase of the seditions, the uproars, and the escalations of the war tensions of these nations and kingdoms, different kingdoms that they have towards one another. And it's going to continue to increase, it's going to manifest, it's going to show forth now some more than ever. So the man of the Lord, we're not going to be terrified of these things, because Yahweh Shemel Shai revealed these secrets to us in the latter age. And while Yahweh Shemel Shai felt it, you know. And this is the book of Luke, Luke chapter 21, verse 10, and it reads through the Holy Scriptures. Then said he unto them, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Right, nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. You know, hey, we're seeing what's happening down there in the Pacific region. Recently, you had that the United States signed a deal with Papua New Guinea. You had the recent security cooperation that you have with the United States, Japan, and the Philippines. You know, other nations trying to claim islands over there in the South China Sea. Those territorial islands not too far from the South China Sea, and China is trying to bully those nations of claiming islands on there. The Philippines, they try to claim islands over there, so that's going to lead into escalations and commotions throughout there. You know, you've been seeing with the Russia-Ukraine situation a lot of activities on the South China Sea. You know, you've been having Russia and Russia and China flying their B-1 bomber fire military jets throughout over there in the eastern shores of Japan, over there in the Korean Peninsula. You know, those have those nations on high alert. They have the United States, South Korea, and Japan on high alert off of that. You know, that shows you that it's going to continue to increase. So that North Korea versus South Korea, Japan, and the United States, that's going to continue to escalate throughout the eastern shores of Japan and the Korean Peninsula over there as well too. And that's going to stir up more increase the size of wars and rumors of wars, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. You know, so that's going to continue to intensify. Right along with Belarus and Russia, what they are military allies with one another, going against NATO and their armies in the Western countries of the United States and Ukraine as well too. That's going to start a lot of commotions and tensions and uprisings and seditions and war tensions. You know, war drones beating in the air. You know, they're going to continue to see that intensify now, so more than ever. And I'm gonna bring out that Isaiah 17:1. And that's why we see Syria is a growing heat, because that's a war zone torn area over there. This is Isaiah 17:1. The burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be as a roaring heat. Right, that's what we're seeing it right now. Just like in ancient times, now we're seeing it in modern day times. Hey, Damascus is taken away from being a city, it's a ruin because it's a war zone torn area over there that leads into economic crisis, famines, the pestilence. You know, we've been seeing weather conditions over there. That huge earthquake that hit over there in Turkey and throughout Syria. The increasing of wars and escalations. So, hey, Syria over there is messed up. You know, Iraq is messed up. Yemen is messed up. You know, but the main focus is Syria. It's going to continue to be messed up over there in that area. That's why Damascus is taken away from being a city as a Roman. But you have Iran firing their missiles. I mean, Israel been firing off their missiles over there, which is the Israeli Defense Force. You know, they've been targeting those facilities over there in Damascus and Aleppo, Syria. You know, with those airstrikes over there. You know, and then recently you had Russia. They was flying over there. They dropped bombs and airstrikes over there throughout those regions over there as well too. Because you know you have Russia as allies with President Bashar. You know, over there in Syria. You know, so that's going to start a lot of tensions over there. You know, because Russia is going to be a guard to Iran, Turkey, Ethiopia, and Libya, and they're going to be continue allies with the Syrian army. You know, so that makes a lot of sense because it's going to be a lot of potential increasing of wars and commotions over there. You know, while you having Israel using bombs over there in the Syrian region. You know, Russia is going to back up Iran and the Syrian army. You know, and that's gonna have Russia bumping heads with Israel, and that's what the United States is going to have to get in as well too. You know, and we definitely are visioning that. You know, because Yahweh Shemel Shah got all this set up. That's why he's gonna send. That's why he's gonna sit judge all the nations round about in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, because it makes clearly sense, a whole lot of sense. Because like I mentioned again, you've been having all those armies over there and organization factors as well too. The pro-Iranian groups, you know, the YPG, the PKK. That's why you're gonna have Turkish army going against the Kurdistan army, because not too long ago you have Turkey has a special military operation going against the Kurdistan armies down there in Syria. Then you have Russia been flying airplanes using airstrikes targeting those facilities over there going against President Bashar, you know, because Russia is allies with the Syrian army as well too. And keep this in mind, not too long ago you had I believe the United States, Israel was using artillery shelling over there in the Syrian army, that they was going to warn the Syrian army that if the Syrian army click up with Hezbollah and the pro-Iranian groups, there's going to be serious consequences. So that's going to start a lot of commotions over there, and it makes a lot of sense. And keep this in mind that that recent military exercise drills that have been happening on the Israeli side, that they said they getting preparing for a multi-war in that area over there, you know, throughout potentially Lebanon, potentially Jordan, throughout Syria, you know, and other different places throughout that Middle Eastern region. That's why you have the Hezbollah, the pro-Iranian groups, you know, the pro-Iranian groups, Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the Syrian army, and Hezbollah as well too, and Hamas, all clicking up together, going against the Israeli Defense Force, you know. While you currently still have that Israel-Palestine situation going on, you know, with the resistance of the Palestinians, Hezbollah, and Hamas as well too, you know. So all that's going to stir up continual escalations and wars and commotions over there as we're getting closer and closer to the Valley of Jehoshaphat, when Yahweh of Israel, Yahweh Shabbat, is going to sit judge all the nations round about as we're getting closer and closer to that, you know. So, you know, it's good time, you know. Even though it's slowly but surely, you know, because we're working on the Lord's time, you know, because the Lord, He got all this set up and planned into action, you know. Hey, we are working on the Lord show, you know. This is the movie of the Lord, you know. He's the ultimate director, you know. He he's the ultimate, the director, creator of this, you know. So we're going to continue to see how the Lord continue to plays it out. Definitely, he's going to sit and judge all the nations round about, just like I brought it out in Joel 3 and 11, verse 12 as well too. You know, he's going to sit and judge all the nations round about. So that's why it's going to be a continual increasing of wars and commotions and rumors of wars and nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. I wrote the paraphrase of those scriptures of Luke 21 and 9 and through verse 10, Matthew 24 and 6 and verse 7 as well too. So that's why you're going to have a continued increasing escalations and uproars and seditions that leads into wars, rumors of wars and commotions, and increasing escalations, nuclear escalations and tensions over there in the Middle East. There's going to be non-stop cross-border Middle Eastern conflicts over there. Even though we've been seeing that for many years, and we're so used to that, but it's going to increase at an alarming rate as we're getting closer and closer, slowly but surely, into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and Yahweh Bashem Yahshai is going to sit all the judge all the nations round about. You know? Let me switch up the spirit and get into Babylon, of the continued downfall of Babylon now some more than ever. So, you know, I just want to add an additional note to that, you know, of what's going on with the escalations and wars between the different nations and different kingdoms. You know, I just want to break that down, you know, in particular, and add an additional note to that, you know. So we're going to continue to see the wars, evils, and the pestilences is going to continue to increase as we are in those times, you know. But moving along, switch up the spirit. And this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51 and verse 7. It says, Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Right? It's like in ancient times, like the Tower of Babel and all that. When Yahweh Bashem Yahshai destroyed that, you know. So the Lord, that's why Babylon had been a golden cup, just like in ancient times, now in modern day times. Hey, that golden prosperous of Babylon that's being taken away, you know. That's why the nations are angry and mad at the version out of Babylon, because they have drunken up the ways and the wrath of Babylon, you know, and they are not hip to that no more. That's why the American dollar is on the decline, even though it's been showing signs of improvement, but we've been definitely seeing warning signs of the American dollar is on the decline. Hey, the paper dollar of the American dollar is going to be a thing of the past as we're entering this cashless society. The central digital bank currency, because this is going to be a new form of currency in order to buy or sell, and these are the times that we're entering into. So it's already here, but we just waiting for it to be manifest, being mandatory, you know, in order to buy or sell. So that's showing more signs. That's why ain't that's the coincidence you've been seeing the BRICS nations and these other nations that want to join BRICS. You know, because they the ones that's up and going, right, up and coming right now. Because the BRICS nations started in 2014 and all the way to now. You know, and that have the other nations having them influence to drop the American dollar, turn away from the American dollar, and it's not putting their trust in the American dollar as it used to be a top global currency reserve, which is greenbacked by the dollar. Now we're starting to see Russia and China as being a top global currency reserve of these nations depend on now to make importing and exporting, to make transactions with these other nations. You know, even if it's like oil or gas or any other expertise in that sort of nation, you know. So that shows a prime example of Babylon is falling in many different categories, but definitely from an economical standpoint. And I'm going to the next verse, and this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51 and verse 8. It says, Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand. Salakia. I meant to say Jeremiah 51 and verse 8. It says in the Holy Scriptures, and it reads, Jeremiah 51 and verse 8, it says, Babylon suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her to take bond for her pain, if so she may be healed. Right? So, hey, Babylon is falling, and it's going to continue to fall. We would have healed Babylon, but she cannot be healed. You know, take bond for her pain, if so she may be healed. So, even though many times this kingdom try to bounce back, hey, we're going to continue to see it on the decline, on the downfall, on the last leg of this rulership by the Idumeans, the kings of Babylon in modern day times, of the influence that they that's slowly crumbling, you know. So that shows you that Babylon modern day times is crumbling, you know. We're going to continue crumbling, and it's being spiritually being destroyed by the words of Yahweh Shem Shai, by the representations and the mouthpiece and the prophets of Yahweh Shem Shai, prophesying about the evils and the pestilence about to come to this kingdom, about the increasing wars, you know, of the nations going against this kingdom, from a military escalation standpoint, from an economical standpoint, from a westernization standpoint, you know. So the nations are turning away from all that, and that's why they're angry and mad and going against this kingdom, you know. And it's going to continue to be like that. So the virgin daughter of Babylon is in bad case right now, you know. It says Jeremiah 51:9, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. It says, but she is not healed. Forsaken her and let us go everyone into his own country, for her judgments reach unto heaven and is lifted up even to the sky. So that shows you a prime example. There's no healing for the virgin daughter of Babylon. Babylon is going to continue to be on the decline. So it doesn't matter who will be the next president, it's still going to continue to be on the decline, you know. The previous president, same thing. Creating wars, economics been not so good. The division continue to increase. That been happening for the generations and many years. You haven't seen that in modern day times, you know. And we're going to see that in 2024 as well too, you know, and continuing on, you know. And we're going to continue to see more and more signs of the virgin daughter of Babylon. So it doesn't matter who get into power from a geopolitical or a political standpoint. It doesn't matter. But hey, we're going to continue to see this kingdom on a decline now some more than ever, definitely from a financial sense, you know. And this major prophecy that's about to come is that MOTV, in order to buy your sale, that's a major prophecy, you know. But there's going to be a lot of people rebelling against it, and that's going to cause a lot of seditions and uprisings and wars. Now some more than ever, and more increasing divisions, a lot of increasing judgments, you know. So that shows you what times that we're living in. This is what we're out here prophesying about, of the continual decline and the continued downfall of the virgin daughter of Babylon, you know. And we are in those times to continue to prophesy about it and to go against it as well too. And we're going to continue to prophesy against this kingdom as well too. And you're going to see the nations are going to continue to go against the virgin daughter of Babylon as well too, from an economical standpoint, you know, and many different category standpoint as well too, you know. But I'm going to continue reading on. And this is Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 9. I'm going to read it again for edification's sake of the sit-down lesson. Of this lesson on the highways. This is Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 7. It says, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsaken her, let us go everyone into her own country, for the judgments have reached unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. Right, so the judgments have lifted up even to the skies of Babylon, you know. Their iniquities, you know, the evilness, the unrighteousness. So those judgments being reached up into the heavens, lifted up into the skies. So that shows you increasing signs that, hey, the virgin daughter of Babylon is on the decline, you know. It's going to continue to be on the decline in many different aspects of categories, you know. And this is Revelation chapter 18. Just like it says in Isaiah 13 and verse 17, Yahweh Shem Shai to stir up the beast against virgin daughter of Babylon, you know. That's why we're seeing Russia versus the United States of the nuclear tension but at an all-time high, you know. Now if we go to Revelation chapter 18 and verse 1. And this is Revelation chapter 18 and verse 1, and it reads from the Holy Scriptures. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightning with his glory. This is Revelation chapter 18 and verse 2, and it reads from the Holy Scriptures. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, has become a habitation of deceivers, and a fold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean HATEFUL bird. Right? We've been seeing Babylon throughout the years and throughout the generations. They've been an unclean for HATEFUL bird, you know. The iniquities, the atrocities, the judgments, the unrighteousness, the unrighteous decrees, you know. Hey, we're seeing that been ramping up and been increasing over in Babylon of what Babylon been doing, man, you know, in such evil, wicked, and unrighteous way, you know. shows you indicating signs that a perversion out of Babylon is on the decline. And it's going to continue to be on the decline now some more than ever because we already know it's times. You know, that's why you're going to continue to see the men of the Lord that's been scattered throughout Babylon prophesying against this kingdom, you know, and about the news and the message about the hit this kingdom, you know. Now, if we switch up the spirit and bring out Revelation verse 13, verse 16 as well, too. And this is the book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 16. And it calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free of bonds, to receive a MARK, which is that Quran, you know, in order to buy or sell. Make sure everything's good, right, in order to buy or sell. Revelation 13, verse 16, and it calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free of bond, to receive a MARK, which is that Karagma. It's already here, but once it fully be revealed and once it be mandatory, hey, even if you're rich or poor, free of bond, to receive that MARK, and this is a prophecy that's got to be fulfilled. Central digital bank currency fed now. You know, in order to buy or sell, in order to maintain yourself in this society, you're going to have to comply and conform to this technology that's going to be stored in you. Is that CHIP. Even if you're rich or poor, free of bonds, to receive that MARK, which is the upper part of your body and the right part of your body, that goes into all the other nations, including our nation as well, too. That's why we tell our nation of Israel, the children of Israel, the lost sheep of the house of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel, do not take that MARK and be not conformed to this current BEASD system of what it promotes for you to conform to, of the evilness and wickedness, and not putting your trust in modern day Egypt, not putting your trust in modern day Babylon, and not putting your trust in taking that MARK. So don't take that MARK, do not take that MOTB of this technology that's going to be stored in your body. You know, I'm gonna go to verse 17. Revelation 13 and verse 17. Revelation chapter 13 verse 17, and that no man might buy or sell, say he had the MARK, which is that Quran, soon to come, prophecy about the fulfillment very soon, or the name of the BEAST, which is this current system, or the number of his name, right, in order to buy or sell, and you gotta have that MOTB of this technology that they're gonna want to store in your body, you know, in order to, it's all your personal information, your state ID, your driver's license, your transactions that you've been using to make purchases back and forth in and out of the stores, getting your prescriptions, anything that you do on an everyday basis in this society, you know, your everyday walk of life, all that information is going to be stored in you know. They're going to try to control you. They're going to try to check your every move, track your every move, you know, because you're going to have that technology stored in your upper part of your body, the right part of your body, to be able to enter these stores. You know, they're going to scan you, use your DNA, you know, check your every move, you know, check your qualities with this technology once it's going to be stored in you. And it's going to be a lot of people rebelling against it, and it's not going to take it. And the leaders in these countries is not going to comply to it. They're going to try to ban it, and that's going to cause a lot of uproars and a lot of seditions and a lot of uprising on both sides, you know. But it's going to be people that's going to actually take it and be part of it, you know. And the ones that's going to go against it, rebel against it, you know. And that's going to cause a lot of uproar and a lot of seditions. That's what we're seeing right now in the world state, the uproar of the people world. But once that MARK be fully displayed and be fully manifest, hey, that's going to cause a lot of seditions and uprisings and uproars at an increasing alarming rate like never before. So these are the signs and times that we're about to enter into, you know. And I'm going to bring out this last verse and I'm going to close it out. So as we continue on saying that the children of Israel do not take that MOTB, do not take this MARK, soon to come, you know. Continue to have your faith and love and trust in Yahweh Bashim and Shah. Revelation chapter 13, verse 18, and it reads on the scriptures. Here is wisdom, let him have understanding, count the number of the BEAST, for it is the number of a man, and his number was SIX 303 score. So, hey, in order to buy or sell, you gotta have that MOTB, that MARK, under this current BEAST system. And this is a major prophecy that's about to be fulfilled. That's why we're living out the book of Revelations now some more than ever. So there's going to be a lot of people that's taking the MOTB, and there's going to be a lot of rebelling against it. And it's going to cause a lot of seditions, a lot of uproars, at an alarming rate like never before, So that's why we tell the children of Israel, do not take that MOTB, do not take this technology thing, do not conform to the ways of this world, but the renewing of your mind. That's Romans 12:2. But follow the ways of the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, through His righteousness and through the repentance of our Lord and our Savior, Yahweh. So with that, hopefully this lesson was edifying on this 4th of July. I don't call it 4th of July, I call it 4th of July. On this July the 4th, 2023. That was just a sad joke, but it is true though. But so with that, hopefully this lesson was edifying on this July the 4th, 2023 at 1:15 p.m. July the 4th, 2023 on this Tuesday afternoon. So with that, I would like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem Karkadash. Shalom to the elders for preaching the word, truthfully and sincerely. In the names of Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai Ba'Shem Karkadash. I say shalom to the elders out there, and shalom to the Akim, scattered in the four corners of the globe, preaching the word, truthfully and sincerely. In the names of Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai Ba'Shem Karkadash. And until next time, I will say shalom.